Nissan, the makers of Datsun cars and trucks, is now the third largest automaker in the world. And this new truck plant is in Smyrna, Tennessee. To make it a success, it sent 1 in 6 of its American workforce to Japan to learn the Japanese work ethic. They'll soon be turning out these vehicles in Smyrna, light pickups for rural and suburban America, already nicknamed a Tennessee Cadillac. Says 300,000 laid-off UAW members don't like your import. Please park it in Tokyo. In the light of that, and with auto plants closed all over the country, this would seem an unlikely time to open a new one. But that's precisely what's happening. The new plant is being parked in Tennessee, and the Japanese firm that's putting up the plant is betting $600 million it's making the right decision. Japanese one, Nissan is spending time and a fortune to train its American workers. A year and a half and $56 million to learn new skills and to learn a new attitude. It's no small thing to break the lifetime habit of the American work ethic, which the Japanese regard as often being unproductive and short-sighted and greedy on both the shop floor and in the boardroom, and in what they see as the excessive number of management levels in between. Sent 1 in 6 of its American workforce to Japan for special training in the Japanese work ethic. This group has spent over a month in Japan. They've returned with lessons learned. Have you people changed since you came back?
Yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The biggest lesson we learned was in human relations.
One of the things they told us as advice to our new plant was to master your equipment and to love your fellow workers.
Plant, Kanda, Japan. At 8:40 every morning, 8:40 sharp, the workday begins. We've come to believe, and it may be true, that the quality of a Japanese car or truck is like no other because the devotion to the job of the Japanese worker is like no other. That inscrutable something that combines quality and efficiency. But these Japanese are trying to make themselves less inscrutable to the Americans from Tennessee.
Loading spindle. Oh, you good to that? Okay. Okay.
Compression rod, 4x4.
4x4. Oh.
For the back.
Back. Oh, there.
And then with the drip pin.
Oh, big.
Assembly line lessons in attention to detail and concern for quality.
Slow down.
Whatever the Japanese did, the Americans did. Nights out were spent joining in the latest craze sweeping Japan, in which bar and disco customers get up to the mic and do their thing. Most of the Americans sent to Japan had never been out of the country before, some never out of Tennessee. Yet some of them hated to leave Japan. The Japanese experience, the fellowship of the assembly line, hardly turned them into robots.
Well, I'd like to say thanks for the fine training we had, and like Steve, it's hard to say goodbye. We know we're not going to see y'all again, and thanks.
So the Americans went home. Obviously, the Japanese experience was something special, impossible to duplicate in Tennessee. But something, an American version of this new way of working, is evolving.
There's a great deal of involvement and interpersonal relationship between all the people, not just technicians and not just supervisors, but it goes from technician all the way up to Mr. Runyon.
Well, when Mr. Runyon come down, you know, I don't know how he does it, but he can walk up to me right now and he can ask me how my wife is doing and call my kid's name and stuff, you know. And I've never been with a company that could do that, you know.
Mr. Runyon is Marvin Runyon, a retired Ford executive Nissan hired to run the Smyrna operation. He too has been trained to work the Japanese way.
Going to be an executive dining room and all that?
No, we don't have an executive dining room. We'll eat in plant cafeterias.
I also notice you're wearing the Nissan company uniform.
Well, that's right. We call it wearing apparel, and all employees are given wearing apparel, and they like it very well. And it's voluntary to wear it. It's not mandatory. It's our name. It has a logo on the cuff.
His boss is Takashi Ishihari, president of Nissan Worldwide, the man who decided to invest in America. One, the quality of American workmanship.
Mr. Ishihara has told me that he is concerned about the quality of the work coming out of here. And any study that you look at says that the Japanese vehicles have better quality. So naturally they're concerned about that.
It's not surprising, therefore, that of the half-dozen Japanese executives in Smyrna, one is in charge of quality control, Shuichi Yoshida.
I think our people here at Smyrna can do that job because they have been in Japan and learn how to make vehicle in the way that their counterpart makes there. So we can produce a vehicle with the same quality or better quality than the Japanese. We are determined to beat Japanese in quality rating. You know, that is our aim.
It also helps if you can be very choosy in your hiring process. Nissan has received over 80,000 applications for the 2,600 jobs in Smyrna. Each of the Americans was carefully screened.
I went through 4 interviews before I was hired. 4 interviews and pre-employment training before I ever had a position offered to me. I think they were looking for people that worked good together with other people and got along with other people. I think they felt like they could teach you the job, but you can't always teach somebody a proper attitude or a good working attitude.
Have any of you worked in the auto industry? Nobody? You have? Well, you're really the best judge here. How it compares with, where'd you work?
I work for General Motors.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot different, you know, just the attitudes of the people are a lot different, you know. But like when I worked for General Motors, they never spent this much time with, you know, like training, you know, for a job. Like when I worked for General Motors, you know, you went out with your foreman in the morning, he showed you the job for a couple of hours, then it was yours, you know.
Our production technicians that are going to be building these trucks are going to have not only the responsibility for putting the parts together and making this truck, welding it, bolting it together, painting it, whatever it might be, but they're going to have the responsibility for inspecting that truck, and they're going to be the final inspector on that truck. They have that responsibility.
You say production technicians, that translated as assembly line workers.
Well, they're production technicians at Nissan.
Most outstanding difference between the American conventional automobile companies and Nissan at Smyrna might be the degree of participation by workers, by technicians, and all employees. We have a very good policy of encouraging all employees to participate in the decision making and coming up with solutions.
So UAW need not apply.
The UAW says it covers every auto assembly plant in the United States and Canada, and that includes Tennessee.
Today's forecast calls for clear, cool skies over much of Middle Tennessee. Temperatures are expected to remain in the low 50s before dropping to the low 30s.
Today's top story, groundbreaking ceremonies marking the official arrival of Nissan Motor Company will take place today just outside Smyrna, Tennessee. Expected on
ceremonies for the $660 million Nissan Motor manufacturing plant will take place today in Smyrna, Tennessee. According to President
Ishihara from Smyrna.
February 3rd, 1981. A host of dignitaries and officials converge on the frozen Tennessee countryside just 15 miles south of Nashville. Of things to come. For others, it is an epilogue. The final result of years of visionary planning and painstaking research. Nissan had come to Tennessee.
What this company will be doing is putting 2,200 jobs in Tennessee for 2,200 Tennesseans at an average of $20,000 a job.
And we believe that Tennesseans have the desire and the dedication to manufacture the best truck made anywhere in the world.
Engulfing 78 acres, 3.4 million square feet under roof. The main facility is divided into 3 separate yet interrelated plants, body, frame, and stamping, where Nissan trucks first come to life, stamped from coils of steel. Cab, rear body, and frame. Every truck begins its voyage here. The paint plant, the most technologically advanced facility of its kind. 3,000 individual checkpoints monitor virtually every phase of the entire operation from start to finish. And trim and chassis, where Nissan trucks take on their final appearance before rolling off the line and into dealer showrooms across the nation. Dazzling technology abounds everywhere. Robots perform painting and welding tasks with amazing accuracy. 3 separate computer systems monitor nearly every aspect of the facility and assembly operation, performing literally thousands of functions every minute. No less than $275 million was spent equipping this facility with state-of-the-art machinery and technology from around the world. At single-shift capacity, with an annual payroll of $90 million, Nissan will employ some 2,000 people, capable of producing 10,000 trucks every month. Facility was Nissan's approach to management. While other international companies had come to America to build their plants and products, they had always come bringing their own management. Once again, Nissan broke from tradition, opting for American leadership. The challenge was extended to Marvin Runyon, and he accepted. Recently retired from Ford Motor as Vice President of Body and Assembly Operations, Marvin Runyon brought to Nissan 37 years of experience in nearly every facet of the American automotive industry. The nucleus was now formed. The stage was set. And the message was clear. Nissan wasn't building trucks. Nissan was people building trucks. People, 20th century craftsmen, building with the tools of tomorrow. Nissan's ability to attract highly skilled people is due largely to an unwavering commitment to each and every one of its employees. To date, $63 million has been spent on training alone. The depth and scope of this training is unrivaled. And in sharp contrast to their traditional counterparts, Nissan employees have a strong voice in their work. Communication and participation are the keys to success. Nissan excels at both. The impact of this commitment is far-reaching. Of Nissan's employees, 80% are Tennesseans. Yet with 20 different nationalities represented, there is also diversity. All working together, all sharing the same determination to build the finest product of its kind in the world. On June 16th, 1983, they would do exactly that. Off the line, 2,500 separate parts bolted, welded, and fastened together in 2,000 separate steps. Each step, each part, the proud signature of a Nissan technician. In only a matter of hours, these same technicians would be back at work producing the steady stream of trucks that would follow. But for this brief and jubilant moment, one sleek white truck embodied the promise and the prophecy of producing the highest quality trucks sold in North America. Job one, in reality, was day one for a newly emerging American industry. Nissan Motor Manufacturing Corporation, U.S.A.
Building an American product.
Nissan.
Good morning. I'd like to ask you to please stand and join me in singing our national anthem and remain standing while the Honorable John Wilder, Lieutenant Governor and Speaker of the Senate of the State of Tennessee, delivers the invocation. Mr. Jerry L. Benefiel, Vice President, Manufacturing. Mr. Masuo Kyoto, Vice President, Product Design. Mr. James H. Stewart, Vice President, Finance and Administration. Mr. Shuichi Yoshida, Vice President, Quality Assurance. Mr. Alvin G. Folger, Vice President, Engineer, retired. Mr. Wayne Wright, Vice President, Human Resources. Consul Shunsaku Ono, Consulate General of Japan in New Orleans. Consul General Kajichika Matano, Consulate General of Japan in Atlanta. Mr. Hiichi Hamayoko, President, Japan Trade Center. We also have employees representing all the divisions of our company today, and I want to recognize them. Ms. Jackie Durham, Executive Secretary, President's Office. Mr. Jimmy N. Johnson, Technician, Manufacturing. Ms. Kathy H. Jones, Manager, Human Resources. Mr. James W. Sauver, Supervisor, Quality Assurance. Mr. William H. Stone, Systems Analyst, Finance and Administration. Mr. James L. Williams, Director, Product Design.
Might have felt when he stood on Mount Nebo and looked over into the promised land. As I come down the connector road from I-24, traveling east, and I get to the overhead bridge and I look over here and see this magnificent complex and wonder if it doesn't look something like what Moses saw when he peeked over into the promised land, the future.
From all areas of state government and have developed a partnership with all Tennesseans. He is our close friend and we're grateful for his help. Lamar Alexander, Governor of the State of Tennessee.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pay for the interchange most of us drove on to get here this morning. Nissan helped pay for the water plant improvements in Smyrna. It is true that Tennessee taxpayers as a whole paid about $7 million to help train ourselves for these jobs, but Nissan paid for the rest of the bill, and the rest of the bill was $56 million more. We understand in Tennessee, the Tennessee leadership does, the Tennessee farmers do, the Nissan employees do, and many Tennesseans do, that the Japanese manufacturers are going to be making in the United States what they sell in the United States, and we want this to be a welcome home for them. Including nearly 400 Tennesseans who work at this plant have learned how much alike the people and places halfway around the world can be, how much alike they are to our Tennessee people and places. The maple leaves in Japan are turning red right now, just like ours are. Their cherry blossoms bloom when our dogwoods bloom. Our state flower